Hello. Hello, welcome to everyone. Welcome. Hello, good evening. My name is Nicholas Barlow. I'm a curatorial assistant here at The Hammer. Thank you for joining us this evening for our program with L. Frank. We really appreciate you coming out. Tonight's talk is held in conjunction with The Hammer's exhibition Lifes, which is on display in our galleries upstairs. I'll give a brief introduction of L. Frank's life and work and some background on our exhibition, and talk a little bit about L. Frank's vital participation and contribution to the exhibition. Born in Santa Monica, L. Frank is a Tongva-Ajachmem artist, writer, tribal scholar, cartoonist, and community activist who lives and works in Santa Rosa, California. Her work has been exhibited widely throughout the United States and Europe. She is the author of Acorn Soup, Heyday Books, 1999, a collection of her illustrated columns of the same name that's appeared regularly in the quarterly newsletter News from Native California. She has served on the board of directors for the California Indian Basket Weavers Association, advocates for indigenous California language survival, and the Cultural Conservancy. Lifes is an exhibition curated by Robert Soros Senior Curator Aram Moshayedi, with assistance by myself. The exhibition began as a consideration of the promises and pitfalls of interdisciplinary art making and the legacy of so-called total work of art, a concept originating in the 19th century proposing a synthesis of poetic, visual, musical, and dramatic arts. Rather than assuming that cross-disciplinary collaboration is a recipe for innovative and creative enrichment, Life's attempts to accept the inherent incompatibilities at play between traditional artistic disciplines and within spaces of arts display. The genesis of Life's was the written contribution of 4 writers who crafted original texts for the exhibition. These texts served as a catalyst for conversation with individuals from various disciplines, which then spawned new creative relationships. Visual artists, choreographers, composers, musicians, vocalists, and other writers were invited to engage in shared dialogue and produce new works for the exhibition. The list of contributors, tallying over 50, is therefore the result of an organic process of growth and adaptability in which contributors suggested the participation of others while maintaining a dialogue with the exhibition's curators who managed the dynamic interplay of relations. Aram and I were introduced to L. Frank through Life's contributors Renan Johnson and Kite, also known as Suzanne Kite. Early on in their process of formulating and conceiving a project between the two of them, between Renan and Kite, based off of Johnson's text, both artists landed on the mutual interests and personal memories of Pimu, the island off the coast of Los Angeles that is also known as Santa Catalina, an important site for the Gabrielino Tongva tribe native to Southern California. Renan and Kite approached L. Frank to collaborate. Their conversations bred a more thorough engagement with the geological and cultural histories of the island, often suppressed by the images of Pimu as an outpost for commercial film production, baseball training camps, and tourism. Their collaboration ultimately took the form of a gift exchange between the artists. Some of their initial proposals and attempts at projects were diverted by unforeseen difficulties, which the artists ultimately embraced as a core element of their collaborative process. Unfortunately, Renan and Suzanne could not be here tonight, but in lieu of that, Rin has sent an audio recording detailing their collaboration with L. Frank, talking about each of their projects, which are upstairs, and giving thanks to L. Frank. Thank you to our public programs team and our AV team, and thank you all for coming out tonight. And I will play this recording by Rin, and then we'll have L. Frank come out. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Hi, my name's Renan Johnson, and I'm an artist most days, and I wanted to read this little text about my collaboration with Suzanne and L. Frank. So our collaboration began with a text based on my childhood experiences on Pamunga, which many people know as Catalina Island. I reached out to Kite, who also had childhood memories of Pimu, and Kite and I connected with L. Frank, and this collaboration became a series of gifts given between each of us. So the first gift was a blanket for L. Frank, and the second gift was a song from L. Frank to Kite and myself. This song, sung in Adoxum Liviseno, created by children who were enslaved at the California missions about their hope for escape and freedom. L. Frank gifted this song to Kite and I at her home, and the song was then transcribed by Kite to be performed on the bell towers of Catalina Island. The third gift were stones for L. Frank's sculptural practice, given by Kite and myself. This gift exchange was extended to the company that owns Catalina Island, but they chose not to accept. And this gift exchange was extended to UCLA Botanical Garden, and they chose not to accept. This gift exchange was rejected by various parties along the way. This collaboration, like most collaborations between indigenous people and colonial institutions, is shaped by failure. And this body of work consists of a lot of unseen labor and unseen gifts, especially a large piece of soapstone, which never made it into the hands of the Tongan artist where it belongs. The result of this process of gift-giving is Kite's stone sculpture in the Life show, comprised of Lacodia ideograms telling the story of gift-giving, transformation, and rejection. The sculpture sits on a wall next to Johnson's live stream of the Isthmus of Pimunga, and across the room from an L. Frank painting. In the courtyard in the Hammer Museum, the bell tower rings every 15 minutes, just as it does on the island, except the bells are forced to play iterations of L. Frank's song. The song is scrambled when the show opens and iterates towards the original version every day for 71 days. L. Frank, thank you so much. Thank you all for being here, and good night.
Where? All right. Oh. Oh, does somebody know how to make that into a show? Excuse me while I pretend I can be technical here. Oh, perfect. Almost 70, I think everything is magic. Chum chapa chamamayom chiqui squee chum. Chum chapa chamamayom chiqui squee chum. Oh, hi. Chum chapa chamamayom chiqui squee chum. Chum chapa chamamayom chiqui squee chum. Yam yappa yani yamayom. Yani yamayom. Chum chapa chamamayom chiqui squee chum. When Rin was talking about the bells in the song, that was the song. That was the song that was composed in mission times by 3 children. Cham chapa chamamayam. We 3 children are suffering. We want to get away. We want to run away. And when I first started singing that song, I was so sad because all I felt was how they wanted to run away. And after a while, or just one night, it was a full moon night in San Francisco, the flags were blowing, the wind was blowing, everything was like alive. And I sang that song, and suddenly I realized that it was a good thing to sing that song, to remember those times, because you have to remember what your people went through. But now it takes me into the future, and I see it as a future song, that we have not just run away, but we've gone somewhere on purpose. So tonight we're going to have a very serious, what did that thing say? L. Frank will deliver a lecture. All right, I'll lecture you. Line up. It's so nice to see several of you. I was saying hi to Wesley there. Yeah, we do language together. So does me and Emmy, but we do language together. All right. Well, so it's going to be a serious lecture that's going to be delivered to you. And it's what it really is, and what this was really called was Coyote's Tales. So it's my version of well, it's me. It's about me and how I feel about my homeland. It's me and how I feel about history. And it's me and what the hell am I going to do about it. So this is some of what I do about it. I don't know if this mural, which is just a beautiful mural, it's much larger than you're seeing here. It's on the way out to Indio. And I saw it and we pulled over, and it's gorgeous. It's a sunrise in the desert, and everything, the painter is just a beautiful painter. Everything is the exact color of sunrise in the desert. And the people are kind of plump, and everybody's got tattoos and some jewelry, so things are good. The granaries look full. But over to the right, there's a sign that says, you know, that the Indians awaken to another harsh day, and all it talks about how miserable it must be to live in that desert. So right off the bat, everybody's always wrong. Okay, I'm pushing this button, but does it have to be turned on? Da, 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 da. Nobody's answering. Oh, okay, there we go. All right. Wetota ohoram. Wetota hamevet, horuraha, hete keyoyok. Wetota ohoram, wetota hamevet, horuraha, hete keyoyok. Episode 4, Tovangar. There you are. I didn't know we California Indians did that. Okay. So some of what I'll talk about is from, people think that, they say that the Tongva are extinct just because we're, you know, rubbed down to a little nub. But so I was in the museum and I saw these dinosaurs and I thought, they're just like us, we're just like them. This is a map that I took, I found this map in the front of a book a trillion years ago, and I started taking it around to California gatherings. And I said to people, write down whatever it is you want to be called, whatever name is yours. And so it's still in progress. You can see the Chumash names over here on the side, on the left-hand side. Up at the top, it's, does this have a pointer? No, I'll just point. Up at the top, it says, it's got two words, Caneste, and then a small in parentheses, it says Wailaki. And this is how this map used to work. Some people went to the Nomlaki, some white people, to the Nomlaki or to the Yuki, and they said, hey, what do you call those people over there? And they said, well, we call them Wailaki. So in all the books, it's Wailaki, but that's one of those things where Wailaki means enemy. So they call themselves Caneste. And one time, Preston Arrowweed, you know, he does plays and that. He's a great dude to hang around. Down there, he's from the Quetzan, down on the bottom there to the right of the, that name has changed, Digueño, they're Ipai, Tipai. But he was down there and he walked by my map the first time he saw it and he goes, ah! And it's like, all right. And then he came back to my table and he goes, ah, again, but this time he looked a little longer. Next time he came, he didn't make that sound, but he picked up the pencil and he kind of drew his area. And like the fourth or fifth time he came, he owned pretty much the whole bottom half of the state was his. So then some other Indians come along and go, hey, that's not his. And they start arguing with me and go, hey, I did not write it. But it's a pretty cool map as far as people feel good about it. You know, it's because that's who they really are. Because everybody in Central California gets lumped as Yokuts. What are Yokuts, you know? Are they somebody? Or are they Choinumni and Chukchansi or Tachi? There's my village. Most of you are familiar with it. Actually, my village is way over to the right. It's Cucamonga, Rancho Cucamonga. There's my other village site, sort of. This is where I talk about how warm the beaches are. You know, it's a surfing spot, Trestles. It's a real warm surfing spot. See that cement strip right here above the beach? It's a cement, just a gray strip right there. Well, on the other side of that is a really nice section of beach, but you have to walk on that strip past it's a little wall to get to the other really nice part of the beach. So when you do that, you know, you just finished surfing or it's dawn and you want to go visit the beach, you know, in your own homelands. So when you start that little walk, there's always a dude, usually about this tall, about this big, and he has a machine gun he carries up here, you know, and he walks behind you like this. It's like, all right, the waters are warm and we have company. Oh, that's my new business card. I finally let the young people they were saying, we have to re-indigenate El Frank. And I thought, well, aren't we indigenous? But that's not what they meant. Finally, I got it. I know, my phone number's up there. People go, should you put your phone number up there? It's on the internet. Who put it there? You don't have to work that hard to get it if you really wanted to call me up. Somebody thought that that was Michael Jackson on the bottom, but that's me. I don't know what that was about. But this is me. I'm kind of a geek. All right, not kind of. I'm a big one. And there I am jogging people's memories in my little India Museum, you know, T-shirt. That's me in the military, thinking I was going to help the people of my state, California. I'll do anything for the people of California. I get there and they go, you might go to Korea. And I said, that's me at work. City bear, urban Indian. I won't explain it. This is one of my favorite postcards. You guys can just make up whatever you want. This is one of my favorite postcards. This would happen on Sundays out at the boarding school out in Riverside. All the Indians, you know, the Indians had a band, and all the Indians would put on their pinafores or whatever those things are, you know, and everybody shined their shoes and shined their faces, and they played music, and the townspeople would get in buggies and come out and watch them. The Indians were the entertainment on Sunday. These are the same Indian kids who probably never ever saw home again. So I think this is a really fascinating photograph of the pleasures of the non-native. Oh, is that pixelated? That's just my homeland. I'm going to just throw in some art. I wanted to throw in a lot of art, but then we would just be staring at the screen. Anyone from here know what this is about? Who said that? Is that you, Angela? Oh, hi. All right. Hunalmal means little badger. All right. Anyway, this is one of my, I name everything the same. That way when people go, what is it? I don't forget the name. They're all named the same. This is called The Moment. But it's the moment, I was reading my cosmology, and you know how cosmology is. It's like if you're dealing with Coyote, Coyote can die 15 times, you know, in 12 stories. And it's still supposed to make sense. So cosmologies are always a wee bit confusing. And I confuse my Ajachmem with my Tongva, but since I'm both, oh, okay. So this is, it always talks about there was nothing. There was nothing. And then out of that nothing, there was this white milky thing. And then that white milky thing took nothing out of nothing and made two things, the brother and the sister. And then, you know, as the story always goes, the brother rapes the sister, okay. And from that unity comes the earth. And so that's what's in this list here. That's the Milky Way. The first things at the top are stones. They're magic stones and sand, and then there are magic plants, and then there are the animals, and then there's the moon, and then Mystery Science Theater, that's the people. People kept bugging me. They go, you got to finish that painting. I go, I'm trying to paint the beginning of time. And they go, well, that's hard. And I go, yeah, leave me alone. So I show you this in between this is Double Butte County Park, in between Temecula and Hemet, sort of. And you can see the elevation numbers on them. It had to be tall because that's where the Pleiades took off of. They jumped up. First, they ate datura for 6 days and made the rope magic, the feather rope, which then carried them to the stars. And that's the boyfriend Coyote who had murdered their husbands. And so they drug him up with the rope, the magic rope. They become the Pleiades, and he becomes the star Aldebaran. But this is where they took off from. This is how things started first in the world. Since the Since the death of Wiyut, the deer give their bodies to the human beings. So, you know, when death came into the world, people didn't want to waste anything, so they said, well, I suppose you can eat me. That's from a series I did of when I first, you know, because I'm not an LA Indian who was attached to other LA Indians or knew stuff. I just always knew I was an Indian because before I was born and when I was young, I just knew. I laid on the ground and all of right there where those 400 women were, you know, buried, and they all talked to me. So I knew stuff, but I didn't know a lot of stuff. So when I read that, you know, the deer hunter would put on a deer skin and walk with a bow and arrow and eat only deer food, and the deer would fall for it. I thought, what kind of deer are those? You know, but that was city thinking. So I was trying to work out how the deer could actually fall for that. So there are a lot of drawings of deer decoy. These are the guys I call friars of hell. I took this from the Berkeley Digital Library. It used to have a mission behind. These are the 13 last original priests, the guys left. I call them my mean PE teachers. Especially that guy in the end. He really, anyway, friars of hell. For those of you who do etchings, this is an aquatint that I worked on for a while, zinc plates. So it's a zinc plate, and you do different stuff to it. You know, you put on pine pitch, which after you kind of grind pine pitch into such a fine dust that even though you're wearing all these big masks, when you breathe, you can feel your lungs going. And it's like, yeah, printmakers die early. This is Franciscan Showers. I keep saying it, and I never get tired of saying what people have said when this is in an art show. They walk up to it, and they think that it's so nice how the Indians had their own showers. If you squint your eyes, you can see what that says up there. Those are cows, by the way, up on the left. Who knows what it says? Who said me? Okay, what does it say? Okay, that's it. So every time I put datura in a painting, which is our strongest medicine, I have people accusing me of starting a drug cult. Yeah, that's me. I have time for that. Oh, by the way, that coyote's wearing the cowboy suit I wish I had so bad. This is some of what I've done or what I do. This is my friend Kathy, who just recently passed. She's from Northern California native, Hoopa and Karuk. The Kathy and Alf Rumo baskets. The San Francisco University found a room full of baskets, and they'd been missing or gone for 20, 30 years. And so we pulled them out, and I just always went along with Kathy. Wherever she went, I went. Next thing I know, I got a job, you know, photographing these baskets. That's my office. It's exactly how I want it. And there's a photo I took during then. There were a few baskets from Southern California, so when you can work it out, you could probably get them returned there at San Francisco State. One time I was showing a photo, something similar to what I'll show in a minute, but it was this big, it was a basket. I go to museums, like I've been several times to Europe, and I work in museums. Mostly after hours of working in museums, I'm just chased around like Paris by neo-Nazis, you know. The older I get, the less I can run. So it gets kind of harrowing just to go see a piece of our culture that's been taken away. But I was showing a slide, and I had only, you know, I'd seen the object. I took the photograph of this basket that had to be at least 600, 1,000 years old. And it came up on the screen, and I was so mesmerized by it because it was huge like this, you know, and I had never seen it huge like that. So they forced me to stand at a podium. So I'm standing at the podium, and I'm just staring at that and staring at that. And it was all non-native audience except for 4 little Mono women in the front. They were so little, their feet didn't even touch the ground when they sat on the seats. Anyway, they were these elder basket weavers. And when it came up, I was so silent, and I thought, oh no, I'm supposed to be talking. So I leaned into the mic, and this is just so me, I leaned into the mic and I went, savages. And the whole audience jumped, and the little Mono ladies, they just started cracking up, you know. You know, and I had to explain it to everyone else that y'all think that you don't have a zero, you are a savage or whatever. Come on, look. You do that. I put this old business card up because these little colored creatures here on the bottom have to do with when I was down in Coonanuta, Australia. And I went to teach them how to do, well, to work language. And they only had a limited number, they only had like 3 colors, I think, and yet they wore like 47 colors at once, but they only had name for 3. So I made things in the colors they did. These are from these cards called alien cards, where you get the learner to get somebody, the speaker to get somebody else to draw what you're telling them in language. And it works really well. So, so I made them their own cards, and I passed out cards one day. And I passed them out, and the men were over here, and the women were over here, and so I passed them out, and it's just randomly, and I don't know, you'll see him later, I don't know if he's my son or my uncle or my cousin, because they adopted me in, and I'm something now with David. But he comes over to me very quietly, and he hands me this card. It's a card I made, and it's a lizard. It's the back of a lizard, and in this hand, he's trying to decide what T-shirt to wear, and he's wearing shorts, he's got his tail out, you know, just a lizard holding T-shirts. And he says, "We cannot use this card." And I said, okay, and I just took it because I tell them anything that culturally you can't, don't, you know. And so I take the card back, and he takes the card, and he's talking again, and the 3 guys are talking, and I know they're still talking about the same thing. So sure enough, here comes David, and he says, "We cannot do it." I said, okay, no problem. He goes, "We cannot." I said, okay. So then he goes back, and earlier in the morning, I had said something about somebody was pregnant. All the men in the room got up and left. Because there is no mixing of anything that this belongs to the women, this belongs to the men. You don't mix it up. And so he comes over and he says, "We cannot do it." And he makes me find the card, and he says, "Because," and he points to the tail, and he says, "Because in our language, this is a penis." And he just, nobody left the room. I thought, what kind of rule is that? But anyway, there's a basket kind of that I shot in Europe. Hadn't been seen in, like I say, hundreds and hundreds of years. And the woman got it, the director got it out of a cabinet. It's just like a locker, gym locker thing. And this thing is like this tall, 14 inches across the top, and old. And she picked it up by a rim, and she kept going, "Oh, je te tete," because I don't speak French. I'm not trying to mock. That's what it sounded like to me. She just kept talking and talking and talking and waving this basket. Finally, she realized my hands were doing this. You know, and she gave it to me. And I told her, you know, she's a director. And then she opened up a drawer, this metal drawer, again, like a locker thing, and it was stuck. And so instead of unsticking it, she's going like this. And I, again, stopped her. I put my hand in. This feather, I think it was a banner, not across your eyes. This feather banner had to be 800 years old or more. And she had caught it on the lip and torn it open, which was kind of good for me because I could see it was made on the inside, but then I was really sad it was torn. But look at that. And there's nothing on the inside of that. I mean, no feathers or no, all there is basket on the interior. That was a basket from this area that I shot, and then I did that because I can't help myself. Well, so I'm trying to teach myself how to make animation for language. And I have all these learning disabilities, so teaching myself animation is really slow and frustrating. But I managed to get these 2 guys. These are the people who catch and throw snakes. I asked my linguist to translate some things for me, and first thing he did is, "What the hell are those?" And I said, "Well, these are the people who catch and throw snakes." So that's what he translated for me, and I kept it as a title. But all they're supposed to do is look a snake, you know, a lot of repetition. Look a snake, you know, catch a snake. So they have to catch a snake. Only one of them, you don't see it in this one, but it's supposed to have a much shorter stick, so the other one has to help. But this is when we were in DC, and I spent a whole weekend, and all that happened was this one on this side kept poking this one on this side in the genitals. No matter what I did, it was like, wonk, wonk. Didn't go as planned. I just thought I'd show that this is a Northern my friend Marva, this is a Northern California native, and here's a Southern California native. We're beginning to look throughout the state like we're supposed to look. Yeah. She eats eel. I don't know if I could eat eel. It's green. All right. This is a photograph I took. I was on a panel at Harvard. They called me over, well, they flew me out to Harvard to Harvard. I went to Harvard to talk about LGBTQ, whatever, Two-Spirit stuff. It was a big conference they were having. It ended up, oh my God, these people, just because they go to Harvard, it was the most heady, dry thing. It's like, oh, let's bring in more statistics, you know. And every single panel was like, ugh. So when it got to this guy, the three of us were on the panel, there was this man who said he wanted to take all his clothes off, so he did. And he was rather large and furry, and he talked about that, you know, and he was, and then there was this very small, this diminutive Chinese man who wanted his mother to, you know, come to his wedding. Eventually she did, but he wrote beautiful poetry about it. And then there was me. And me and this big burly guy, we kind of hit it off. And towards the middle, our room got suddenly very crowded, but towards the middle of our talk, he's still talking, this big guy, about, oh, I really like being naked, and people like seeing me naked, you know. And so this man here, I wish I remembered his name, he says very quietly, he says, no one wants to see me naked. And he goes, how do you know? And I went, yeah, how do you know? And he flew right off his chair, you know. It's like, shit. So he said he was okay. But anyway, it was a good talk at Harvard. But during our talk, people were laughing, people were crying. You know, it was the first time when I was there that people actually had emotion. I mean, why are you so... You don't have to be so heady all the time. What is that, you know? So, anyway. Oh! I know we're all pointing at Marna. She's sitting right there. This is my friend Marna. And I put this in because there are a lot of people who say they respect our homelands and respect us in our homelands, you know, but that's just a lot of lip service. But Marna is a big reason why I did opening prayer at the Gay Pride in LA. Was that 3 years now because of COVID? Yeah. And I really appreciate that you know, that was important. Oh, let me go back. This is a shot I took. This is the Ace Theater that they rebuilt in LA, downtown LA, I guess. And it's got balcony and it's huge. And so I got called by, Taylor Mack. You can look him up on the YouTube, yeah? He does this thing, the history of the world through the eyes of the disenfranchised. And it is spectacular. And you are not an audience, you participate. You know, there are thongs, there are ping pong balls, there's beer, there's apples, you know, and there's just really witty and bright conversation. But the reason that I'm standing there in the wings waiting to go out is when he hit a city, he found an elder from that place, and he asked us to come out. So this is Taylor Mack there on the left, and this is the pirate who gave me a paddle. Yeah, they had, because they knew I went on tribal canoe journey, they had a paddle maker in the Pacific Northwest make a paddle. And that's really a great gift. And they gave me $1,000, which I put towards the canoe, the T-yacht. So, you know, the tale's a coyote. It's just stuff that happens. Hi, a pirate's going to give you a paddle. I guess what this is about, all of this is kind of about, is people are always saying, oh, El Frank, you do really great things. I'm just in the vicinity of people doing really great things. This is, I mean, we can't do anything alone, you know? We need to know things. This is Tima, my niece Tima, she's Chumash, you know? And she has helped me more than anything with harvesting and planting and just being there. And then that's my niece Tek Tek, who is Onatsatsis from up in Northern California, learning how to weave tule. This is about our canoes. We go on tribal canoe journey when it happens in the Pacific Northwest, and there's like 120 canoes from mostly Pacific Northwest, but there are New Zealanders and there are people in those little birch bark canoes, you know, from back east, and then there's our Tiat. That's my niece, River. She's actually Lenape and Caddo, but the thing when you're on our journey is you are still your own native, but you also tell everybody you're Tongva. Kind of like builds up, you know, beefs up the tribe. The only thing that's not right about our canoe is those canoes, you know, they have a lot of people and they go, oh, 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 you know, and my crew thinks that they're in that slow-mo commercial, you know, where they're gonna meet somebody. So they call us the one-knotters, which is it's kind of humiliating. But their canoes have things like sea wolf, you know, or land shark or whatever. They have stuff all over their canoe. And ours is so mild, so hopefully she's going to get some coyote teeth soon. There we're sending her off for the day. I threw in whales. I guess I didn't organize these quite well enough. I got a fellowship. What was it called? The what was it called? Biocultural diversity something, which is funny because when they gave it to me, they said, what do you think the title means? I thought, what, you don't know? So anyway, it was a great gift of a fellowship. So what I did with it is I went to Wales, where, damn it, what this really is about is they go, we're going to go for a walk after we eat breakfast. And I said, well, you know, I'm old. And they go, it's a short walk. We walked 5 miles, you know, towards the end, it's like I'm dragging these legs, and there's a man going, it's okay, you go as slowly as you need. But anyway, they were really nice people till they dragged me out, and I walked all the way to the end of that. Jeez. Anyway, I went to Wales. I went to visit the Sami in Finland. I could see Russia from my backyard that I rented. Went over to Ireland, but I didn't have a chance to find them. Finally, I found the people I wanted, the ones that in this small town, when I asked questions, they go, oh, we have those kind of people here. It's like, yes, I finally found them, but I didn't have enough time to go talk to the people just doing language, you know, because I wanted to see if, I mean, I'm always trying to see new or old, but just that I haven't seen even, ways of working language for our people. You know, however they need to get it, I want to, like, always try and find a way to make that happen. This is River again. She has a tattoo on her arm. We took her, she helped me out. She carried my suitcase around, and, you know, she's real good with her thumbs to catch the trains and all that stuff. So she helped me out traveling. So when we were in Holland, her dad was really mad because what she has tattooed on her arm is just the word peace, but it comes from a speech her great whatever grandfather, he's the dude chief who signed William Penn's paper, you know, the $24 worth of beads or whatever, which we all know that was not a real story. So it was her ancestor, and then he caught holy heck from all the Indians for signing that piece of paper. So they're still a little mad at the Dutch, and here I had taken her to Holland with me. And her dad was really mad, so I took her to my friend's house, and my friend goes, oh, the Dutch are assholes, she said. So then my friend felt better. But and then her dad says, no, make them give you back land. So my friend wrote back to her dad, she can have my apartment. So it smoothed things over. And she was able to enjoy Holland. Except I was driving, and we're going to go way out to Friesland, because I want to meet the original, you know, Dutch people, the speakers up there. And I'm driving, and she's got the GPS, and I said, okay, you've got to navigate me around downtown Amsterdam. So we're driving, and all of a sudden I look up and I go, I know this coffee shop. They don't serve coffee. Well, they do serve coffee, but that's not the main thing. And so as we're driving a few more feet, I go, holy, I'm driving now in the very center of Amsterdam, you know? And beyond that, all of us, when I realized it, only taxis are allowed here, about as close as we are in this front row. Just pretend you're women in the window selling yourselves, okay? So as I'm driving by, yeah, that's very good. So as I'm driving by, there they are, and they're going, and I'm going, you know, and my friends are on Facebook, because I said, put this on the Facebook Live, and my Dutch friends are going, oh no, in big caps, get out of there, you know, like I wanted to be there. Anyway, so check the dude way out in the back. That's his hat. It's a Karuk hat. a knit cap. But these are Sami people. I went with them up to a protest they had because Russia and Finland want to bring a train through their Sami deer lands, you know. And the deer are already having trouble because of climate change. It no longer snows, so now it ices over. The food for the deer rots. They can't smell it. They can't eat it. They're starving to death. And now they want to put a train through there. This woman on the left used language in a really interesting way. They mostly all spoke in Sami, so I wasn't sure what was happening. You know, I mean, I knew what was what. It was kind of cool. It was like this Indian thing. They had a fire going. Everybody had their own coffee cup, you know, and coffee and bread. It was really rather homey. But this woman stepped up and she's talking okay, you know, well, talking. Then all of a sudden she goes, and I'm thinking, what the hell language is that? It turns out that what she was speaking was beautiful stuff about the forest and the Sami and their way of life. And then the noises she made were those are the sounds that are going to replace all that beauty. I thought, wow, that was kind of bitching. This is at a place where people try to break in and shoot us for indoctrinating children. But my friends there wrote this book called 47,000 Beads, and it's about a little girl, a little native girl, and she goes to powwow, and she's really bummed when she comes home. And her grandmother says, why are you so bummed? And it's because she wants to dance, but she does not want to put on a dress. And so the grandmother gets the community together, and everybody makes the little girl the boys' regalia, and all is good. So that's not indoctrination, you know what I mean? It's just another slice of life. But this little girl came in late to one of the library sessions, and she had heard they were going to give a book and sign it, but she had to leave early to go back to Samoa, and so I brought her over to the authors. She was so happy. Those kids are so happy. We had an average of 30 kids. We had coloring books, you know, we had stories. I think there's a picture. There's Land O'Lakes reading. That's me in the book. It's funny, I look like an Austrian. I have like poofy sleeves, you know, and my cowboy hat's really teeny. Not that Austrians have really teeny hats. If you're Austrian, I'm sorry. Let's just leave that one there. Anyway, that's, it was such a beautiful thing. I mean, it's just a really good thing. This is Deborah Miranda. She wrote Bad Indians. And I don't know, I walked by and she was holding that sign as if she were waiting for me to take that photograph. Oh. There's some people we know. They're Tongva, for those of you who we don't know. I gave a talk at the world's religious whatever in Toronto. There were 10,000 people just kind of before COVID. Actually, I got lost in Toronto looking for a health food store, and my phone battery died, and there I was. They've talked me into doing the reason that I do the Two-Spirit Powwow co-MC, because I know nothing about powwow, and I apparently can't learn either. I was doing the women in the Indian Club at San Francisco State asked me to be the MC. Well, just actually 10 minutes before the powwow was to start, all the men from Oklahoma said, no, we will not have a woman emceeing. The name of the theme of the powwow was, it's time to honor women. So there was this big fit, you know, and this big whatever, and stamping of feet. And so the Bay Area, the Two-Spirit organization, they felt that I was highly disrespected. I didn't feel that way because, you know, I don't know why I didn't. It's no big deal if I don't say, I found these lost car keys, or there are lights on in a yellow Corolla. You know, that's such sacred stuff. Anyway. So the Two-Spirit organization, they brought me on as A, they wanted a woman, and B, they wanted to make up for that if they could. So I've been doing it for about, I think this was our 11th or 12th year. This year we had it, there were just dancers and drums, but no audience, no vendors. And so usually I have tons of announcements. So I spent most of this powwow saying, don't do drugs. I've opened up for the Dyke March for like, I don't know, 18, 20 years, something like that. And I'm laughing because usually they're behind me, mocking me. it's a funny thing to go up and do a prayer at the Dyke March, because what happens is they say, okay, you're going to go on stage at 3. By 3 o'clock, everybody in the park is totally drunk. I mean, they're like, whoa! And usually they're playing something like Michael Jackson. So everybody is just having the time of their life, you know, and little of that. And they're just all writhing. It's just a sea of writhing people. And then over the announcements comes, the Indians are going to have a prayer. And everyone goes, you know, it's like, yeah. So I feel really good stepping out there after that. It's like, really, bring back Michael Jackson? No, they're polite. But I used to open up for Pride itself, but they wanted me on their committee or whatever it was, but I didn't want to be. Once I got there, they were awful. And I said, I'd like, though, I have a request that the natives not be number 487, but maybe a little closer to the front, you know, seeing it's our homelands. And they said, no, it's not about protocol, it's about diversity. It's like, well, I'm glad you make the rules. I held up some signs for them while I marched in the parade about that, you know. Anyway. So what they did was they would say you can either open the parade. So if you do the opening blessing, then all of your people are over here in the parade marching, and you can never march with them. You know, they don't let us all up there at once. It's dumb. Oh. I was looking for the audio-visual person. Do you still call them that? Yes. Okay, because I don't know, I still say mimeograph machine. I was going to give a talk at Bioneers, and I couldn't find somebody to give my slides to, so I'm running around, and this woman's, I'm really just crazy kind of running around. She stops me. She says, hey, I hope I don't offend you. Okay. And she says, are you queer? And I said, well, yeah. And she says, are you butch? And I went, yes, I am. So that was all right, because she has a blog, and I became Butch125. It's a good number. So one time I got asked to do a show about California becoming a state. By then, our people already had apartments. Others had been here so long. So I said, okay, after a while, and I combed everywhere. Well, I didn't comb, that's just the term. I just looked and looked for rubber cockroaches that look real, and I couldn't find them anywhere. I ended up calling the country of China. And they said, well, we have 6-inch cockroaches. I said, no, thank you. I need the little ones. Well, we have 6-inch that glow in the dark. I said, no, I just need little ones. We have 6-inch that crawl up the wall. And, you know, so finally I found them at McPhee's in Washington State, like about 600 of these. And then that's a whole lot of work. So I called over the California Indian Basket Weaver Association board, because they have nothing better to do. And they came over to my house and they stuck toothpicks, American flags, in the backs of all these little cockroaches for me. This is just a small section. It's a real small section. And so the first place that I put it, they gave me this space, you know, and there's art on the wall. So I had those things, and what the cockroaches are covering are everything that's important in our lives. You know, everything that's important. And so there's just crawling all, it's called not to give the cockroach a bad name, because that's not fair, you know, just because we think they're oogie. Anyway, so I had them all over the floor, and if you wanted to see something on the wall, I made a little path so that you could see the things on the wall, you know. And it was very interesting. And the other artists, they said, oh, put stuff in our art. So it was in their art, all of the other art that was there. And that was cool, too. But before the show started, I had put some in the women's bathroom. I'm a jerk, yeah. So when you sit down, I guess I'm instructing the guys, when we sit down, we don't really see. But when we get up, I don't know why, but our vision is wider. And so, so when you get up, you'd see these cockroaches, yeah? So there was a woman, the minute I stepped into that gallery, she just hated me, you know, all right, I could tell. Well, she had gone to the bathroom. All of a sudden, I hear screaming and then cussing. God, why do they have to be everywhere, you know? And so when we had the show opening that night, I said, yeah, you know, why do they have to be everywhere? She said it for me. Yeah, cockroaches. that show went to Canada, which is funny because all this stuff is like laying around my yard and stuff, or people lend me things. And so in Canada, it sat for several months in quarantine, which is cool, but we don't care. Oh, this is about language. Almost everything I do is about language in one way or another. Just got this huge grant. It's about canoes and kites, condor kites and all this, but it's really a secret thing about language. If you want to play, you have to speak. There's the last known Wamkish on Pimu, actually, yeah. On Pimu was, it's a dance area, a sacred dance area, and then there's the mainland, and so I just have everybody having a talk about language, because that's what it's about. The real flame is language. I took a photograph of this bowl up on the top left. It's a sandstone, inlay olivella, and limpets in an asphalt, and I'm not sure what else, glue. You can see the black on a little bit at the top. I shot that in France, and then that's the first stone bowl by someone in our tribe. I made that. I was artist in residence at the Headlands. It's small. It's just a little cooking pot. But it was a 100-pound stone, enough to rearrange the interior of my Volkswagen when my partner ran into the car I was in. So, but anyway, I hope to do that at Catalina sometime, make a bowl out there. They don't really like it when I suggest it. They said, no, it's destruction. And I say, no, it's continuation. There's the bowl. Neophytes on the run. Join the rancheros on their quest for adventure. See the dirty little Indians run through the jungle trying to dodge your bullets. Meet at the mission chapel at dawn. Dogs welcome. Okay? Who are the somber ones who think that's not funny at all? You don't think it's funny at all? Okay, you're on the edge. Anyone else on the edge? It's just sad? But look at it, it's all inclusive. Dogs can come. How many places can you bring dogs? Okay, all right. No dogs? Did they eat them? No. Force the issue. Okay, I'll go with you. I don't know why you want a dog in the mission, but I'll help you. All right. Oh. Well, then you should have taken the dog in the mission. This is from a series I did, again, with the same title. This is called Stop the Dance. Because so many of our peoples, because our religion it's confusing. What's left to find and what people remember, it's confusing. And people want to, they're used to bells ringing and genuflecting on time, you know what I'm saying? So it's like people in the Ajachmem tribe would go, but now, Frank, if you take away the religion, I'm not trying to take anyone's religion away, but if you take it away, what is left? And I say things like, well, the moon, the sun, the stars, the wind, the mountains themselves, the ocean. So this is part of that series because a lot of people, this is coyote juggling religions because, this week I'm into Eastern religions and next week I'm chanting, and this week I'm taping things to my doors that I'm going to manifest, and this week I'm going to this, and this week I'm going to that, and it's a continuous search, and you can't find peace in that. I did a series of drawings. Well, I have responses to the mission. Like on the side of that little table, it says, tell me your dreams. I have the stocks and stuff, because I can't remember which mission it is, but they have like the torture stuff down in some basement. So I drew the torture stuff. Inflicted cultural transvestitism. Us being forced to wear another's culture. So I went to this meeting, and all the really Christian Indians were on that side of the room. I don't know how it worked out. I think because we were all trying to run away on this side, mostly non-Christian Indians on this side and artists. And the discussion was, what are we going to do about Sarah being made a saint? What shall we do? Shall we make an art piece? So it was the guys, but we all participated rather quickly, started chanting, burn it down, burn it down, burn it down, and then it just made those guys cry. I mean, they were really just crying like we were really going to burn the mission down. you know. So we had to think of other things. So we made this mission. And about 35 members of the community helped. And one of the people in that meeting had said, you can't burn the mission down because our blood and our bones are in those blocks, you know, our DNA, that's all we have left. And then we all yelled at him that he's all that we have left. He's full of that DNA, not the blood and the bones and the bricks, but he himself. So that gave me this idea. So we made paper mache babies, which was really weird because it was kind of nauseating, actually, you know, with that limp paper mache, you're dealing with dead babies. I don't know if I left in the slide, but at one point, a lawaka came flying in and wanted to eat them, the turkey vulture. So there's the front of the mission, which we had this art show in the mission in San Francisco. And I have enough Spanish to understand that the children coming through were asking their parents what this was about, and to hear that the parents were accurately describing what this was about. So there it is. This is Karina Gould. She's a leader of, it's faux Karina Gould because she's alive. She's taken a baby out, and with her other hand, she's putting a bomb. It says bomb, like cartoons. And on the other side is a man whose great whatever put the first stone into the corner of Mission Dolores. He's chained to the mission, which is what my leather family helped with. They go, can we make the whips and chains? And then Sarah himself, I was going to stand him somewhere, and my partner said, oh, he's been elevated. Okay, we'll tie him from the ceiling, which was really great. He's rather ominous floating over. But someone asked me what I was going to do when it was done, and I said, I don't know, you know. And he said, well, you should burn it. And I thought, well, heck, why not? So it's funny because my Ajachmem linguist I didn't know you could be that devout Catholic without being the Pope. He is so Catholic. He's always having like Catholic stuff at his house. But anytime I call him up and I say, how do you say burn the mission down? He tells me. It's really nice. I don't know if I can pronounce this. I don't practice enough. Iwuntum chamshun maimi tushi wuncha mishlash. So I started announcing it, but I didn't want the cops to get it, so I didn't say where. There it is. It was so satisfying. I didn't think it would be, but all of a sudden it's like, yeah, all right, that's over. And the fire got really big, and we thought the police were going to come, but there he is. Here's one of my friends posted, the fire is going and the cops are looking at us. Remember when the Bob Hope mission burned, a couple of 6-8 months ago or something, the chapel burnt? I was afraid people would think I did it. I started painting acrylic I started with photography when I was about 9. I mean, really seriously when I was about 9, but I started acrylic painting when my grandmother passed away, and I was at a complete and total loss. So someone bought me a starter kit, and there I went. The first thing I painted was Vagina Theater, just another show on the road. I guess it's a grief painting, I don't know. This I made for Breath of Life. It's this program that I put together that Wesley and I both work, and I like working with him the best on that conference. But what it is we who don't have speakers and many who are losing speakers, there are words in institutions. And if you find those words, and if you can break down what the diacritics mean, what the linguistics part of that means, then you can make those words fly again. Anytime Coyote's wearing a lab coat, it's a very important moment. Then I had to make this one because, well, there were a lot of small reasons, you know, because everybody's all lovey-dovey at the conference, but behind the conference, you know, things are not so lovey-dovey, and it really wrecks everything because, you know, I guess historical trauma just plays out all over the place. So we made this Shadow of the Whale where we brought linguists and learners together to talk about things, and then it helped. Then we addressed conferences, and then there was far less mayhem. Like once I came off the elevator talking to somebody, people think I was kidding for the longest time, but oh no. I know that person. I saw somebody from where I live up north, and I saw her, and she was talking, all I saw was from behind, and she was standing like this, and all of a sudden I saw her go, and I thought, oh, that's not good, that is not good. So I said, excuse me, and I kind of ran over there, and she was fighting with her linguist. He's real big. She's Pomo. He's married into a different Pomo, and he said, your mom is stupid or something like that. And I said, oh, dude, and then he was real tall, and he's leaning over going, oh, I'm so big, I scare people. And I kept going, dude, I'm about to throw you over the edge myself, because that's what she was going to do. And that's pretty dramatic when you just want to learn your language, It's like, really? More trauma? So most of that when addressed, gets taken away. Oh, this is my friend Richard. He's my best boyfriend, Richard. We sit around smoking pot together, mocking the world. Actually, he tells me things that he just knows so much, little tidbits about California, Southern California life and life ways. And we just have a good time talking about it. But here he and I are on the lam. We're at the Indian Museum in D.C. We're actually running to a little courtyard there to smoke a doober before we go to work. The cops don't know we're doing that at all. So I did this book called First Families, where I visited all the tribes in California, or not everybody in those tribes, but tried to hit all the tribes. And down in the desert, this is Richard here on this end, down in the desert, southeast California, they told us this little town was created and they didn't want the Indians coming in naked. So there was a bush, and when you're an Indian, you come in naked, you put on this shirt, you put on these pants, you go into town, you do your thing, you come back, you take off the shirt, put it back on the bush, take off the pants, put on the bush for the next Indian who comes on and puts on the pants and puts on the shirt and goes into town. So it's the shirt and pants bush. So I always kid that suit that Richard's wearing is it. He heard me say it once, and it was okay. I was working, as I said, down in Coonanuta, Australia, and it turns out I'm their rich relative. When I went the first time, they slipped money into my pocket so that I would have to come back and buy them dinner. But it was very interesting working language with them, because in the mornings, they would come in at around 9 or 10, and we'd start, but the whole time they would stare back at a table that was behind them and just stare at that table and keep turning and turning, so they couldn't think. They couldn't think. At 12 o'clock, food appeared on that table. All the children from the village, a lot of these kids you see here, they came in with paper plates and they heaped up food as big as paper plates could hold, and then they ran off to feed their people in their homes, so I no longer had students. And I said, well, how the hell can they think about language when all they're doing is being hungry? And they said, well, we're not here to give them meals. I said, you just gave them a meal. Couldn't you give them a little in the morning before they start? So I had a big fight, because it was a guy who came from some Christian college, and he said, no, they're just taking advantage of you in their own homelands. All right, so I bought like tons of beef, and it was 8:30 at night when this photo was taken, and we had been, they cooked the meat like you could knock the table with it, it's so hard. And so we're all gnawing on meat around a table when the one on the left holding the baby turns to me and said, this is the first food we've had today. It's like, oh, God. Well, I'm glad I'm here to teach you, how to keep your language. Sometimes working language is just so tough because what can you do, But I love them. They love me. They took me out into the outback, into a balibong, and it was about this deep. And I'm afraid of a lot of things, but I went in, so I'm in real deep. And that's when those little fish came over and bit the hell out of us. And it was interesting. They were starving, yet they had a chunk of red beef, and they would tear off a little piece and then hook and catch a little fish about this big. It was mostly teeth. There's David. I don't know if he's my brother, my dad, my uncle, but that's David. My name is Nalari. They took me to the river's edge, the head woman, and again, my autistic self is going, oh, that's an Oogie River. But, you're in somebody else's house, so they took me to the river's edge, and they got a special tree branch, and they took crocodile water, and they put it on my head and adopted me. And I ate kangaroo butt. One of our Tongva elders asked why I didn't do a mural with our sacred bear, so I did this with the sacred bunny poking the sacred bear with a stick. This is called Waiting for the Grant. You know, because we natives have to be magicians. A lot of us don't do well in school. Some do, thank you. A lot of us don't do well, you know, and yet we have to talk to ethnobotanists and astro this and, you know, ethno that and archeo that, and just to piece some of the pieces together. So it is like a magician's act, what many have to do. Okay, we've moved into tattoo. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have a tattoo or two. And this is, I guess, my tattoo family. This is my sister, Carolyn Ku'uli'i. She's got some office, like royal office thing with one of the future possibly queens of Hawaii. So she's having that put onto her hand. And that's, you see, the blue hands there are stretching, keeping the skin tight. And then the tool is being hit with another tool so that it bites into the skin. The red is just a pen. Those are the tools. This little tool up here on this right, I think that's the one when they were stretching. They still have to finish my eye, but there were two guys and they had their hands on my eye, and I could feel this. How could you not? As he was coming around the corner, I was wondering how he was going to do that corner. And he came around and he tap, 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 and turned that thing. And I thought, whoa. And the guys who were stretching go, whoa. And it was pretty cool. Yeah, it was really cool. He can make circles and stuff. But that's Keone's, those are Keone's tools. There's some cool chicks with tattoos. It's kind of interesting giving talks about your tattoos, and I love giving a talk in this place because it's the LA Natural History Museum where I grew up going there forever. So to be able to talk about something in there was pretty cool. But to be able to visit and be with these women who have tattoos is, I took Sage Lapina. She's third person in on this side. I took Sage, then we confused her child who went like this to us. It's like, I didn't have my eye thing then. That's called makapo. It means blind, but it means that I can see other things. And after Keone gave it to me, he wrote on Facebook, this is only the second successful eye tattoo in the world. But I thought, he didn't tell me anything like that. Here she's getting her chins tapped. She has an orange slice in her mouth so it doesn't hit your teeth. When he widened mine, they ran out of oranges, so he gave me a piece of apple, which I'm not real thrilled about anyway. And then the first smack, it turned into bloody applesauce. But an orange peel is much better. This is my brother Tony being tapped just before he passed away, really. He said that his grandmother had told him when he was a little boy that she said that there was a man in her village who had the women's tattoos. And so Tony decided he was going to get them. And there he is. I don't know why it's not gushing blood at that moment, because that's like 4 minutes after it happened. But it stayed like that for, I don't have a photo in here that's really grisly. It almost made me cry when I saw it in the mirror. But that's just right after they tapped me. So I had to go spend the night somewhere else because I'd been staying here at this place, but just for a night, go somewhere else. I went somewhere else. And I was laying on the floor because that's all there was, and I thought I had Kleenex, and I was dabbing at my eye and putting the bloody things, you know, all night into a bag and putting more and doing that. I got up early to try and take a shower. Thought, oh no, I wore a sweatshirt. How am I going to get it over my head? I walked in the bathroom. I looked in the mirror. Holy cow. I thought my eye had exploded because I hadn't been taking off those bloody things. I'd left them on, actually, so it looked like my eye had exploded. I was happy it hadn't. Hurt less that way. Yeah, I'm only kind of smiling there because someone asked Keali'i there on my right-hand side to turn so they could see his other tattoos, and when he did, my hand landed square on his butt. I was like, He's laughing because I didn't move it. It's a painting I did. There's right where a piece of the octopus and then the white against the red, there's a larger dot. That's the Polaris. When Mother Earth gave birth, she lay down and she placed her feet to the north to give birth. It's another sand painting. I changed them so that they're not, exact sand paintings, although they're published in 1 million books. I just like that photo, wanted to see it big. For those of you who do art, again, this is a double drop. These are 2 plates on 1 piece of paper. You have to soak your paper for hours, it's a certain rag content, it's pretty bitchin', and then you put it in a damp locker so it's the right texture, and then you have your printing press and it has tons of felt on it so that when you lay your plate down and you lay the paper on it, then the felt, when you put it through the press, presses into the lines and gives you the art. But this is 2 plates, so you have to register them. I love California so much. Don't eat it. I love this photo. And you guys haven't because it's only been up for a second, but people often go, how did you take that? And so I had a little camera in my hand. When I took it, I went like this. And that was it. You too can bend over. I was doing too much, so at Indian Health, the doctor gave me a prescription. You have to have no responsibilities for not less than 1 month and not more than 3. So where could that be? Because everywhere I go, I feel bad that I'm laying on their beaches while they're working, Not that I'm a big worker, but I could show up for a little while. And so I went to Amsterdam because, they got Van Gogh, right? And coffee shops. So I lived on a houseboat for kind of a month, and this is me as a tourist on the left. It was your usual day. We had driven 1,000 miles, needing to drive several hundred more to reach the edge of the citizen zone. We found America, and she said no. Has to do with Standing Rock, You get there and you realize, oh, hell, America is not what they said it was. We are not the enemy. So I wrote to Isaac, he and Christy made quite a bit of the Standing Rock art. And I wrote to him and I said, can I put this, I wanted to put the one on the left on my left leg, which is supposed to be the Molly side. And then on the female side, I wanted to put the female. And so when you walk real fast, it looks like they're moving. So I wrote him and he said, cool. He liked them, the tattoos. I wasn't on stage. I was over there in the audience when my friend over there says, Frank, you can get better pictures from the stage. So I walked up that ramp there and I'm on stage, and then I got into a fight with that woman because she was insisting that as a Lakota, she had a right to talk about stuff, even though there were California natives there, about California natives and Standing Rock. So we got into a little tiff and I ended up on stage all the way with her. Tiat, and for those of you who want the plural, tiatam. Our vowels are like Spanish. Tiat, tiatam. There she is, second one in probably 280 years. I helped build the first one, and this is the second. It's steamed wood, glued, and sewn together. Takes a few clamps. And the stitch is very particular. It's a very particular stitch. And this canoe has over 400 holes. Oh, I thought I had the stitch up there. Hopefully we'll see it. You put it in a particular way so that when you tie knots and you pull it, 2 knots go into each hole. So it helps with the caulking. We've moved to fiberglass poles because if you're going 26 miles, so and people want me to change the shape, but I'm keeping the shape of the paddles. I'm not going to change it. This is me at work over at the Natural History Museum. This is what I was born to do, be in the basement of a museum all day long. I don't care, I don't see anybody. Just show me these things. I just bought this in case anyone does this kind of stuff. That's called a folio, that white box to my right there. And it folds up into a briefcase, comes with its own light, and it can be hot or cool and bright or dim in case you want to photograph things. There's a photograph. This is pre-contamination time. It's a piece of plank. It's only about this big. But I had always thought that where you put the knots, I wanted to put grooves. You know, I wanted to put them at a certain depth. And everybody kept telling me, no, you're going to mess with the structural integrity. And I kept saying, no, I really think that this needs to be. And sure enough, that's the way it needs to be. I can do what I thought, you know, it should be. I mean, we've taken this canoe on tribal canoe journey 4 times. I'm beginning to know her. What I love the best are on this little plank are the adze marks. You can see them, kind of little dimples on that. I just love that photo. But that was taken in that white box in case anybody, oops, I pushed some button that's random. These, I don't know if I took this out of a book. I've seen them in museums, tons of these. But there's a little stone canoe that I made on top, and that's an actual anchor. I don't know where they got it from. They said it was a Tongva anchor, but could have been Chumash. It's a rock, who knows? It's about this big. And they were so excited, the museum people found it, and they come running to me with this big rock, and they go, here's an anchor. You should take it with you on tribal canoe journey. And then they looked at each other, and one of them's the director, you know, and they go, well, maybe we should ask someone. So, but they do want to let us use it, but that's a little scary, you know. Where's your anchor? Well, the bottom of Portland Bay, I don't know. But it's just a beautiful rock. You know, because a lot of times we just use seaweed over the bow as an anchor. But here's an anchor. Here we are working really hard making another canoe. A little air guitar goes a long way. But this is our canoe yard. The canoe that you've been looking at that's finished is over behind this man on the right. And you see our chalkboard, what we do with that is we write down songs or we write down words. So always in working the canoe, there's always language. That's Tima again, and my nephew Chiakawe, which means 50 cents. 50 cent. So the guy living with me, the Caneste, he was going to help me do the building. He said, I've got to build a model first because I've never even heard of such a thing. So he built this, and those two jumped in it. So I thought, all right. So I did this. Well, I didn't do all that. I just threw in the shark and the ocean, yeah. The next morning, I'm laying in bed, and I'm laying there, and he's like right over my face, and he goes, are you awake? It's like, no, I'm not awake. He goes, well, when you wake up, look at Facebook. So, all right. So I opened up Facebook, and Tima, who is just an excellent artist all the way around, anything she does, she had put in the octopus, and that's my little language puppet that I crashed Breath of Life when they wouldn't let me go. So I came in as a puppet, a little anarchist puppet. Ha ha, I'm here. And, you know, who can be mad at a little bunny puppet? So they grabbed it with that octopus. That's what hurt my feelings. But anyway. So I wrote an article about the canoe, an unexpected journey, or build your dreams and never mind the sharks. I know we call them crabs, but never mind the sharks. So the reason I started building canoes, because I'd always wanted to since I'd helped build the first one, the Momarahiko, was Chiakawe. He comes up to me one day, that's my canoe yard here, but when we were up in Washington State, I was watching the canoes come in. We were not participating, just watching. He comes running up behind me, and I hear, El Frank, El Frank. So I turn around, and I couldn't see his face, but there was this bright light kind of all around him, you know. And he goes, I heard, more than anything, I heard, can we do this? And I thought, oh no, the Chumash told me the wood costs this much and the this costs that much, and I don't know this much, and I don't know. So I said yes. Because how am I going to tell him no? Because he wanted to do this with people, you know? He wanted to sing. He's made 5 Tongva songs. Okay, so we had to do protocol. It was our first protocol ever. And one of the songs he made, we were supposed to go on like at 10 or something. One of the songs he made, sorry, I'm a little thirsty here, goes, Quaquaro het komok, quaquaro het komok, quaquaro het komok, quaquaro het komok. All right. So I'm in the tent watching The Magnificent Seven, and, you know, because we're camping, so I have to be comfy. So I'm watching the Magnificent Seven, and I hear a car pull up, and he's not even out of the car, and I hear him yelling, "El Frank, we're going to be late. Oh, God, they moved our protocol. It's going to be at 8:30. It's not going to be at 9. It's going to be something. We can't." Oh, all right, so I got in the car. I can't find everybody. They're in their pajamas. They're eating oatmeal. I don't know where. Oh, okay. So we go walking in, and there are our crew going, "What?" And they are in their pajamas and all, so it's been moved up. So we go into the weight room, because it's a gym, it's an Indian event, so we get the weight room. And so we're in the weight room and we're practicing. Quaquaro het komok, quaquaro het komok. Great, sounding good. All of us have got it all together. We go out there, we sing the first line, quaquaro het komok. All of a sudden, Chayakaway starts in, quaquaro het komok, quaquaro het komok, quaquaro het komok. And two of the singers are going, quaquaro, and they're totally lost, but they're singing. His mom keeps on singing. I'm looking at him going, quaquaro, het komok. It was the weirdest thing, and then we finished as if it were a round, like we had planned it. God, that was funny. That was nerve-wracking. Here you are, first time in front of hundreds of Indians, and what the hell is going on? So this is people who help us again. The Chumash, but Ray he's been a constant for me for years. But here's Wikuki and his wife, and they build canoes in New Zealand. So we've had a lot of people help us. There's just the lino cut I did to ocean. Ah, there's the knot. Ray sent me that. When I wasn't sure how to tie it, he sent me this whole piece so I could see it. But you pull those knots and they fill the holes. There's our paddles that, oh my God, they'll kill you. Well, as I said, I'm almost 70, so they killed me. 400 holes. Tech wouldn't let us just do what everybody does and just put stuff on there. She put 4 pieces of tape on each hole on both sides. She wanted it to look nice. Oh, water. Oh, that'll be good. You guys want to hear me swallow? Like the time those Inui Naktoon kids gave me raw caribou marrow, bone marrow, and I looked at it, and it was all pink and whatever, and I put it in my mouth, and they were so pleased giving it to me because they had saved it for me because it's so special, and they're looking at me, and you hear, my eyes watered. They were confused. There was so much more to that meal. We had a meal in language. This is where Sanity Claus lives. You know what they eat? They like a slab of beluga whale there. No, that is not Jell-O. I wanted to, when I put this photo in the story, I wanted to say, 3 Tongva, no fighting, but I thought that would cause a big fight. So I just put 3 Tongva, smiling. And I just said it out loud now. There she is on the beach of Quinault. What we're doing here is we're coming in for tribal canoe journey. You have to ask permission to land. You have to ask permission to leave. You have to ask permission for a lot. But what we're doing is we're backing in. You have to back in first to show that you're not a threat, and then you can turn around and come in. This is the small one. It's a little smaller than your Chumash one, slightly smaller. I told the young man on the right that they call us the one knotters, and he thought I was saying one otters. So we're naming this little Tiat here the one otter. Yeah. After a journey, everybody helps carry her out. Oops, I didn't take out that double. Here's a plate I worked on for 3 or 4 months. And then I pulled a proof, and I was so happy with the proof that I came back and I picked up my roller and I rolled it across, and somebody had switched my rollers. So the roller fell off and the metal went, and you cannot burnish out that stuff. But it's called the Dance of the Lost Pleiades. Okay, this is Maura. One day she comes to my room in Washington, D.C., and she says, "Oh, Frank, I found a box that's very interesting. It says it's Chumash miscellaneous, but it was really Tongva miscellaneous." So I go and I look in that box that she's looking at, and down at the bottom is a little scrid of torn paper, and John P. Body Harrington is written on it. And many of us know what that means. So we're looking at it, and it says, because especially when the canoes first started, the men were, "Women may approach when we say you may approach the canoe." Not yet. you know. So it's, and then you get some canoes that go, well, we tolerate I don't want your tolerance. It's not what I'm here for, you know. So it's gotten better, but they're over the years it's gotten better. But in the beginning, the men were just like, this is a man's thing. You know, only men are strong enough to paddle. Yeah, if you use the inside of a closet pole. Anyway, so this note says that men's paddles were triangular, women's paddles were round. And then they stopped using the men's paddles as triangular because when you pull, the seaweed catches on it and doesn't roll off like it does on the woman's paddle. But yeah, Maura found that in that box right there. We were in Suitland, Maryland. I found this note. This is a Harrington note. I just threw it in water. When there was a passenger or passengers, or when they carried a load, well, anyway, it says put it in the middle of the boat as to not make the ends too heavy. So it's just telling you how to arrange things in the canoe. As we'd go, this is what we'd use, the Chumash to their islands, us to ours, and then there was a bigger loop of trade. So we just finished steaming this board. It's just like a noodle at this point. It's really soft. 2.5 hours to steam it, and then you get about 8 minutes of it being just wiggly. But it's hot as hell, too. Oh, there we go again, more. I love looking at this one. See, there's a green wall back over there, and usually we wrote language on it, and there's a fence, and we wrote language on it, and I'd put boards up, and we write language on it. This is after my crew. I thought they were dead. We were up in Canada, and my crew went out, and they went around the corner, and the radios died. And so they were supposed to meet up. When I got back, they were mad because they were supposed to meet up with our sister canoe, and our sister canoe went, bye, you look really good. And they just went right by them, not knowing they were in trouble. So they couldn't call the Coast Guard, and they couldn't call anybody, and they got caught in triple whirlpools. And at one point, and these are some strong people, they were up and digging, which I don't allow anybody up and digging. They were up and digging only to go 1 inch and come back 2. They could not get out, so they escaped. Michael in the middle suggested just head for the rocks, which they did. They managed to get out and just crash into the rocks, and then they just got in line for protocols. But I was on my electric scooter for like an hour trying to find them, and nobody had seen them. Finally, somebody says, oh, I saw them. They were in trouble, so I watched, and then they got out. So I was like, thank you. Could have told me, but God, I thought they were dead. Well, let me go one more back. So on this journey is one of the times when, because we're up there in Canada, there's a lot of orca, and you all know what's going on in the oceans these days, what's happening. So they come back to camp and they go, it's so spiritual. The orcas followed us. It's like, yeah, they're hungry. This is my last slide. This is, my grandfather had it on his wall, that painting of that Indian on that horse. Remember that one? So sad, like she said. So sad. So I thought, let's do something less sad. So my friend got my camera, and Richard Bugby again, he threw me up, and the antler like came so close to my eye. But after that, it was pretty damn cool. All right, I think we're going to do questions if y'all have any. End of slide. God, he said he was going to do that. Oh, you guys have microphones for people. Oh, I couldn't figure out why you were creeping up on me. That wasn't odd at all. Okay, well, we have mics, so, okay, there's one. Oh, hi. Miha neonan.
Can you explain to us on all the signs the words are backwards?
Why the words are backwards? Yeah. Sure, it's no science. It's special ed classes. It puts you on the short bus. There's no science. Yeah. I'm dyslexic, autistic, misophonia, what else, you know. I'm afraid of bugs. Some butch. Eek! Yeah, the only time that it really caused problem was my whole life in school. Yeah. But the way that I fixed it was I could read so well that they didn't know what to, they just left that alone. You know, it's like, you've got enough problems. But it's really just, it's the way that things come out. It used to be, like I say, in the service, in basic, they ran up to me, and it was a surprise inspection. They go, oh no, I have an extra sheet. I'm thinking, where the hell you get an extra sheet? It's not a hotel. But I said, just give it to me, and I put it in my bag, knowing that somebody was going to yell at me. But as I've said before about basic, none of those people were my mother, so yell at me. Doesn't bother me at all. So they found the extra sheet, so they looked real closely at my stuff, and they realized I had written upside down and backwards. And my job in the Air Force was going to be in graphics. So they felt this was a problem, so they sent me to a therapist. Yeah. And anyway, but they figured out it's not going to be a problem. And then I became I worked at the Space and Missile Center in El Segundo. I had a top secret clearance. It's like, really, I'm a pot-smoking hippie lesbian in an anti-war march, you know? And you guys, they never questioned anything. You know, everybody gets scrutinized to the last, you know, who they went to school with in the second grade. Nobody ever looked. But yeah, they only looked when they found out I wrote that way. But I've just written that way forever. And when I did my little book, The Acorn Soup, I just did what I wanted. It's my book. And something unexpected came from that. Mothers started sending their kids over to me with the book to talk to me about it because they were being called retarded and all kinds of other things and held back in school. And they came over and they'd say that, you know, their mom says that your brain's like my brain, basically. So that, I don't know, it was really nice talking to little kids about, you know, don't worry about it. You know, it'll be okay. Just, you know, that kind of stuff. So it was really nice that opened that up. But I just do that because that's the way it comes out. So I really try to conform, at least somewhere in my life, but it's not in that. It's not in writing. Edgar Heapabirds, who's a big poopy head artist, he writes backwards a lot in his art, but what he's doing is taking people back in time. But once when I was sitting in the front row listening to him with a bunch of female artists, like Jean Lamar and stuff like that, he says, well, you know, there are no good Native American women artists. It's like, oh, the love affair's over. Mm-mm. Oh.
Hi.
Hi.
You mentioned a couple times that you were invited to do opening prayers for different parades and things, and I was wondering if you could speak a bit about what prayer means to you or how you would define prayer.
Oh. Wow. Okay. For me, it's a centering, and what I think about while I'm doing that is I don't think about my creator or whatever. So in what I say, and what I'm doing, it's about creator creation, because there are a lot of people who don't believe in, they don't have a creator, they have creation. So it's a way of kind of getting us all on the same page in a way that's not happening around us. It's kind of, I don't know that explained it, but it's a centering, you know. And when the prayer that I say, Kim ki harasha, atachum kikatum, chami tonalach, chami kwavichulach, hivita met pipu yamangai. That's a prayer that's really, really, really old, and that's why I use it. I'm just trying to bring things together, because we're missing so much, so many pieces. So prayer to me is just bringing some more things together, putting us in this one place that's real to all of us. Yeah. So quiet. Okay. I could hear you in front. Maybe the others can't, right there. Because you played Women in the Window so well.
I tried. Yeah.
You did well.
Could you share a little bit about your thoughts on the importance of humor in storytelling and
Humor.
connecting.
Yeah, like people always tell me I'm funny. No, I'm just autistic. It's just, it just it's palatable, I guess. But, I'm always asking my partner, what is funny? Like, what is real? Ask the rabbit. Because I don't quite get it. I say something, people laugh, and it's like, I didn't mean that to be funny. But whatever it is, there it is. And as far as, me, it's again, it's just what comes out. But what I see is that, it's laugh or die. When you talk to people who have gone through Holocaust, it's the laughing, it's the laughing that saves them. Even if the situation is dire. Like a lot of my art, I have Coyote running away from a mission and the voice inside says, hey, come back, didn't you like the food? It's, the thing that's bad has already happened. And we have to go on for the next generations, not because it's what we want to do it, but it's just the mandate of creative creation. All things do that. So laughing is, because life isn't that easy, so laughing sometimes is what takes care of things. I think it's one of the truest things about human beings, laughing. It keeps us strong. Yes. Oh, she's waiting for a mic. Are you guys dressed alike too? Oh no. Okay.
Hi. There were a couple of times when you talked about doing language work in places that are far away from here, and I'm assuming that the languages spoken or that you were kind of seeking out in those places were different from languages that you know, and if that's a correct assumption. But I was just wondering if you could talk about doing language work amongst different languages.
Yeah, I don't. I kind of speak the English you're hearing. Yo puedo butcher Spanish. My grandmother used to speak Spanish. My grandmother would go, ay, 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 ay. It's like, okay, that's really supportive. I could speak a little bit of German, but really I don't know any of those languages. I'm a good coach. And what I can see is potential in players. And so that's what I think in language people. Like somebody wants to do language with me. Like my friend, I was walking away, we'd said goodbye, and I hear him say, Al Frank, and I said, yeah. And I didn't turn around because I was leaving. And he says, I think I want to do language. So I kept walking going, I don't care about think. Just kept moving, And then he runs after me and goes, no, oh, okay. So I can see, I think, that I can see things like making Breath of Life. That was based on what I was doing. And I figured since I was doing it, it's not a special thing, but it's something that if I need this, others need this. And I listen real hard. I listen real as hard as I can to what people need. And then I try to form something that will work from that. And it was crazy down there. I was down in Kununurra and we were supposed to be teaching them how to set the table. They didn't even go in their houses and I'm going to teach them how to set a table. The women have been in the outback for 2 weeks and I was out there with them. It's like, that was a crazy thing too, learning boomerang songs, dances. But anyway, so I'm going to teach them instead. I think, we'll do camping because they're in the outback. So I get all the stuff. I get some saplings from that, what's it called, baobab tree? I never can pronounce it, those big trees, and then they come up. Yeah, the white guys used to hollow them out and use them as jails for the Aborigines. But anyway, so I got some saplings because they taste and look kind of like jicama, right? But so now I'm giving them the cards, and what we're going to do is we're going to camp, and we're going to peel things and find vocabulary. But for 15 minutes, I got this. I swear, I thought I was going to have to start dancing. I could not figure it out. So then David, my son, whatever, he goes, he goes over to the closet, and he gets a tarp out of the closet, and he goes, we're missing a swag, and he throws the tarp down on the floor, and they all went, it's like, okay, so that identifies we are now in the bush. And the worst thing was, with my autism, oh my God, I mean, sometimes I have to sneak up on brushing my own teeth. that sapling, so I had these cards. It's a thing that you do in language, and they're cards, and they instruct, give this to somebody, or come up with a word for peel, and they didn't have one, so they worked out the words for that. So they worked out language for getting this thing peeled and cut up. Well, they've been out in the bush for weeks, right? And people are pretty human, and I can't quite take that, so I had to like wear Vicks under my nose. And so they're in the room, and I'm realizing, oh, no, I know what the last card is, because I'm watching these pristine white things. They're nervous, right? So they really want to please, so they're nervous, and they're rolling them around in their hands. Now they're just mud balls, and they seem to be getting bigger, these mud balls, and I'm just watching those mud balls getting bigger and bigger in their hands, and the last card says, give it to somebody to take a bite, and I knew it was going to be the last card, and I thought, oh, it's the time for me to believe in Jesus. Jesus, no, but sure enough, they were so happy to run and give me that, And once again, I have choked in more countries, but it's really listening to what the people are doing and what they want. Like there's a friend of ours, and she was working with this tribe, and what they did, the language learners, they were really interested in softball. That's what they played. So then the language gets vocabulary around that. The trick to learning a language is not to say I before E, except I don't even know what that stuff's about, right? The trick to language is using language the way that you're going to use it. So it just requires, well, there are learned people out there too. I'm not trying to diminish any of that. It requires a great deal of listening. Yeah.
How is Tongva language different than English? Are there things you can say in Tongva that just seem different than when you translate them? Or are there things maybe you can do with Tongva language that you just don't do in English?
I call people shitheads in language. I say it nicely, shamawish, it just means you're full of shit. But you should say it sweetly. Almost any of the languages that I've worked with and been around, English is like a poorly maintained mechanical bull in a bar. I don't know. It's just so weak, it's not enough. Cody Pata, who's Hawaiian and California native, one time he said, he told us that in English you say, oh, there's a pretty girl walking down the street, or here comes a pretty girl. He says, but in Hawaiian you say, oh, this blossom is blossoming larger, and its leaves, its colors, it's, it's like, whoa, I once said of my friend, Sam Ka'ai, to get your metaphor dictionaries out when he's speaking. So English is, it's utilitarian. I mean, I like Shakespeare's sonnets, but, it's not pretty to me. It's confusing to me. It doesn't hold what needs to be held. And for peoples wherever they are, it's not going to help the land. I mean, it will a bit, but it's not, that's not the design. Right behind you.
Hi, Al.
Hey, who am I looking at?
Ian?
Oh, hi, Ian.
Hi. Could you speak about the word kuyam and guest and what that means, and as an invitation to uninvited guests here?
Oh, sure. I think that Nalmal could probably talk to you better, because I think you actually read his paper, didn't you? Kuyam has to do with, this is from Charlie Sepulveda. He's a lovely man. I gave him this book that I found in a bookstore. Remind me what you asked, okay? I found this book, and it was early California days. It was $5. It's like, yeah, and I opened up, and the first story is about Don Sepulveda. And he's this handsome, Spanish dude with time on his hands. So he and another Spanish dude decide they're going to go to all the missions and see who can get the most Indian girls. But a priest overhears them, so every mission they go to, there are no women. So I thought that was funny. They hit all the girls. So I thought, Charlie needs to have this book. So I gave it to him. But Guyam is guest. And I guess I can talk a little bit about the Kuyam Nawa'a. The Tongva are well, we're working on something for all of our peoples, and even some people who aren't our people, because they're in our homeland, so we also have to be good hosts. But being guests in your homeland, in somebody else's land, and who are you as a guest? You know, do you contribute to anything? You know, what do you contribute to? I don't mean contribute to like money to things, but is any of your energy about the original peoples who are still around you? You know, because Kuyam, you are guests in our home. And anything more sentient is going to have to come from Hunalmal up there. Do you want us to add anything about? No? Is that Indian hand signals? How many fingers were there? Okay. So, yeah. I did not recognize you. Oh, glad to see you, sort of.
What medium do you like to work with the most? I noticed in your portfolio that you had a lot of different kinds of ways that you express yourself. And so I was wondering if you gravitated towards one more than the other.
Well, the one that I used to think that when I blinked, I took photographs. That's how much I shoot, you know, and how much I've shot since I was a little kid. I used to shoot with my father. My stepfather had a Leica with a Zeiss lens. It's just a beautiful camera, just gorgeous. And they saw that I liked it, so that for Christmas they gave me a pink Hawkeye brownie camera. I would have been okay with the brownie part, but the pink is what I had trouble with. And then going from something like a Leica to a, you know, it caused me a lot of, like, I was like throwing little fits in my head, and then I realized that it's my eye, not the camera. That I can still, that it's me, not it. So I got over it. So photography is something I live and breathe, but quite often my hand says, come on, it's time to paint, let's paint, you know, let's paint. My other hand goes, okay, let's paint, because sometimes when I can't go this way, this hand takes over and paints on this side of the canvas. But they want to paint, but then I really want to learn to do the videos and the whatever, so I do some of that too. But now I'm making this big whale out of all these pieces of wood, and it's this huge whale, and it's going to be a rocking whale for adults, you know. So that's pretty, but then I'm making these stone sharks that I see in all the museums. I don't know. You know, I liked welding. I like silver work. I love etching a lot. I love the printmaking. That's just crazy stuff. Yeah, acid, you know, it's pretty cool. Yeah. I like art. I like making art. All art, I had a show at the, what's it called, that museum that closed, the Southwest. And it's the first time they had it, somebody, one of us, there in our homeland. And so I had, and the reason I make so many different kinds of art is because I like so many different kinds, but I'm trying to get people to see that we're not gone. And I'm doing that through art. And some people don't like paintings, and some people don't like stonework. So I try to, you know, I try to attract people to see how vibrant we are. And at that art show, this lady was walking around looking at stuff, and she didn't know I was the artist. And she goes, "This is not right." And I said, "What's not right?" And she says, "Not one person couldn't do this." And I said, "One person isn't capable of making this art?" And she says, "No, one person couldn't be this good at all these different mediums." I thought, wow, that's interesting, because to me, art is solving problems. And like I was cutting my partner's hair, and for the first few times I cut it, oh man, she looked bad. It was really bad because I was trying to cut hair. And then I thought, the next time I tried to cut her hair, I thought, it's a piece of art. And I thought of, you know, David and Michelangelo. And sure enough, it's like, wow, you know, because I didn't care what was real. I was just like shaping. So art is just solving problems, and my head just loves to do that. That's why I like to play sports. I like what it does to my head. My favorite sport was softball, but I played rugby, coached rugby, played badminton, played basketball, played volleyball. I didn't swim because I can't. But there's something happens when I'm out there in the field, you know, because I think outfield is exciting. I know many of you don't, but there's something that happens. All the disciplines that you have to do, you know, you have to stand correctly before the batter is up. You know, you look like a little plastic toy. You have to, all these disciplines and connections, and then something chaotic happens, and all those disciplines make it work again. And that's what I feel about art. It's just problems to be solved. It keeps me from having to wash the dishes. Don't tell my partner.
I was wondering if there's any piece of advice or a lesson you'd like to teach to like a younger version of yourself.
Start wearing boys' underwear sooner. It's much more comfortable. Well, I work with a lot of younger people. I like it because it keeps me from being, you know, like an old fogey. I'm just old, no fogey. I don't know as much as, well, we just looked at them the other day for this day, is I would say look at Sister Karita's 10 rules. Because the minute I found those, the world changed for me. I went to Immaculate Heart College because of Sister Karita Kent and silk screening. And she was gone by the time I got there, but I had her teachers, and it was just like the renaissance of my life. But what really changed everything were her rules. Because again, it was some structure. And the very last rule is there should be new rules next week. But I would say that, because I give that to everybody all the time now. I don't care what your profession is. Those rules are for everybody. And they're the most human guidance I can see that's concise and easy and very clear. So I like Sister Karita Kent's rules. Other than that, it's just, you know, hang on for the ride. Keep a tight grip. Because, you know, it's life. And younger self now is different than then because, you know, we just had Vietnam and we had this and we had that, you know, and now it's a whole different thing. So know your stuff. Learn your languages. That's it. If you can find your language, learn your language. I was lucky enough to hear my language before I was born. As I said, by where the 600 people were buried, I spent most of my time laying right there. From the time I was, because nobody much cared that I was 3 and running like a mile and a half away, but that's where I would spend my whole time. And it's just the language gives you so much. It gives you what you need. It tells you things. Because then when you start learning the language, you start listening to other things that we have not listened to for a long time, like natural things. So it's just a grounding, really. Just be grounded. And yeah, I guess it's still okay to do the mushrooms and acid. It was the 60s.
Hi, Al Frank.
Hi.
Hi.
Did you just lower your mask so I could see you?
Oh, sure.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Hi. We haven't met.
Well, now we have, okay.
Yes. I appreciated your talk very much. It was interesting to see an artist present on the work, and also I felt like I was introduced to all the people and family that you love and work with. And you made mention of the leather community. And I was wondering how they fit into the constellation or how that intersects with your study of art and language at all.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I was worried not worried like something bad was going to happen, but I wondered when other worlds of mine were going to collide. Because I thought that's going to be interesting because I work a lot with families and children and this and, you know, and it's real community. And, you know, so now I'm with this leather family who are all natives, or mostly natives, which is also another odd thing. But one day I'm in my backyard and I must have had like 80 Filipinos there, children and all. It's just they're cleaning up everything in the back, you know, because I gave them a log so they could make their canoe, that kind of thing. So they're all there. They're leaving and I hear this voice behind me and it says, "Didn't I see you at the leather conference last week in San Jose?" And I thought, oh, this is it. You know? But it was really cool because even on the social media, you know, there's my butch friends all leathered up and my straight friends going, "You look hot." You know, it's like, what's going on here, you know? And one time at a leather conference, I was in a mood. I don't know what happened, but I'm wearing leather cuffs and a shirt that says Two Spirits and some leather something else, and I show up and everyone comes running up to me saying, every time we know you're going to do something, we know we to bring our children because it's going to be so good, you know, and here I'm all leathered out. It's like, well, I'm so glad. So it's just meshing, you know, it's just meshing. It's surprisingly, you know, maybe, I don't know, somebody doesn't like it and I don't know them anymore. I don't know that. But I find that community is just integrated with the other community and they actually care for each other and support each other. So, right on, you know. But there was that moment, oh, yeah. And like I say, they wanted to make the whips and chains for the Father Sarah thing. That was funny. That's it, are we all tired?
Hey, this is asking for some help here from the wise woman. It seems like we're up against, when we try to make, whether it's through art or however we want to do it, we are trying to hold on to this life, the sacred places and all these good things. And it just gets hard when you are in front of these bureaucracies,
Mm-hmm.
and you're so dismissed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we love each other so much, and we know we're right, but I don't know. You're so. I don't know, Elle. We need, you know, what? How do we keep our? Well, I know how we keep our spirits up, I guess, but you're so good at it, Elle.
At keeping spirits up or fighting bureaucracies?
Both, maybe. But how do you? I first was going to ask, like, what if they won't? What if they don't seem to listen? Like,
Well, they're not listening.
Yeah.
They can't afford to listen.
Then should we keep trying to tell them?
Yes.
So
And you should
talk
tell
about that.
And you should tell their mothers too. You should tell on them. Yeah. Chains of command. That's how this thing works. Yeah. No, it's just difficult. Everything is set against us. Everything, because everybody who has something thinks that they're going to lose it, and they don't want to lose it. You know, they think that we're climbing the Bastille walls and, you know, heads are going to roll. That's not what all of us are looking for. You're not looking for that. You're looking to protect the land and the waters. But that might mean upsetting oil people, or that might upset this person who's doing. It's just a web. It's an awful system, and all we can do is our best, and that's all that's required of us. We're not required to win. Creator didn't say make sure you win. You know, Creator creation just said do. And that just means your best. You know, and nobody fails if they do their best. You know. It doesn't go unnoticed by some greater thing, because it's what we're supposed to do. But no, bureaucracy isn't meant to be penetrated. You. Yes. Oh, there you are. Did Edward Sharp? Edward Curtis Sheriff? Yes. See how I knew his middle name? Damn, I knew I was going to trip on this rug. It's like sticky. Surprised I haven't sprawled. If I do sprawl, I'm going to stay there, okay? Don't run and help me. I'll be fine. Yeah, Edward Sheriff Curtis. What I dug about him is he had like a trailer full of props, and they'd go up to Indians, and he'd say, wear this black wig. You know, that was pretty cool. But I just love his photographs. Anyway, knowing the history of them. I like that Civil War guy, too, Burke or somebody who shot. You know, he'd move bodies around to make them look like really gruesome. Yeah, I like those early photographers. They had guts. They were traveling around with glass plates, you know, and chemicals and who knows what situation. I mean, it'd been nice if they'd have stayed home or gone to Europe, but there they were. But I have several of images of his. I just love his work. It's okay if it's staged. I really love the photographs of Palm Springs. People always go, those Palm Springs Indians are tough, man, living in that desert in the summer. They didn't live in the desert in the summer. They went up to the springs. Jesus, people. Anyway. They weren't stupid. I can take it. Although when the Spaniards came to visit us here on the southern coast, they said that we were vile. We had a vile act of, at high noon, taking our clothes off, laying out a little mat, and getting a suntan. So we're Southern Californians. That's what we do. Any more questions? You all pooped out now? Oh, I forgot. Amy made these. Okay. It's a little sticker. It says, "This is Tongva land." So you can either stick it to something and be a vandal, or you can hold it in front of something, and whatever social media you're on, if you're not on, then don't do it. But I'm just going to pass this lump. Everybody gets some. I'll pass a lump this way. You can do that. Yeah, pass them around because we got to get their attention somehow. There was, I'll just let you take this lump and pass it up. Thank you so much. Oh, you look so nice. Yeah. I mean, don't stop trying to get their attention. Don't stop knocking on the doors. Someone's knocking on the door. Somebody ringing a bell. Any more questions? Oh, no, okay.
Hi. You have a really, really nice singing voice, and really enjoyed the songs you sang. I was wondering if you and Chiapoe had ever recorded your songs together.
We did, but we were laughing all the way through it, so it didn't work. On episode 4, you can hear us singing that song that I sang on that. No, it's funny, the people who ask me to record, they are people who work in prisons and mothers with small babies. Nothing in between.
What do they have in common, though?
Unruly. Yeah.
Could I ask another quick nerdy
You can
question?
ask 5 more.
I was just so curious how you steam wood for 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, you build a very long box. If your wood's 25 feet long, you build a 25-foot long box. And then you make a PVC ladder on the inside that your wood sits on so the air can circulate up and down it. Ray showed me this. We built our own, and then you get this big tank. The first one we got, it had dangerous chemicals written on the side, but it's all we could afford. So we heated that sucker up and just steamed wood. But we've got something better now. Anyway, so then you have that big camping stove, and the big butane thing, and then that other tank, and then you heat up the water, it boils, and it pipes on into that box. And we drape like those moving blankets. We drape those over for any leakage, and we figured it's about 2.5 hours. Yeah. End in time, smaller planks, less bending, but you could wet the planks, put them in the sand over rocks and cover that up and let it steam inside there. Longer than that planks, you can wet them, suspend them sort of over a fire and allow that to bend them. But this is in a box. Yeah. It took a moment. It was a learning curve. Yeah. Okay. All right, everybody's trying not to look at me. Well, thank you very much, and thank the hammer.
Frank?